Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're doing a full review from Xerjoff. This is A-Orientale. This one, when you first apply, I get a soft oud that's quite mellow. You get something that slightly comes across slightly spiced and slightly sweet, but I believe it's probably the tobacco mixing with the oud, and there is kind of a slight watery sweetness. There is apple listed on the note breakdown. To me, it doesn't quite come off as apple. It comes off slightly watery and slightly fruity, but not. It doesn't directly bring apple to mind. But there's kind of a watery, transparent, slightly sweet, slightly fruity kind of thing going on with this very smooth, woody kind of tone from, like I say, it's like a mellow oud. It's not a barnyard oud. There's no skank. There's no dirtiness to this. The oud is very, very soft, mellow, more like imagine just a smooth, kind of medium coloured wood. It's not even particularly that dark. That kind of almost slightly spiced nuance, I think, is just a little bit of the tobacco notes. Tobacco can come across a little bit spiced, a little bit sweet in perfume. And I think you get just a little bit of that with the oud. And it's kind of this woody element that is the main body of the fragrance, with, like I say, this kind of slight watery, almost sweetness as a top note. As it dries down, I do get a little bit of an incense-like accord that is balanced softly below. I feel like the woods are always the main presence of this fragrance, but there is an underlining subtle incense-like aroma that's very smooth. It's not particularly sharp. It's not churchy incense. It's not like that. It's almost more like a more resinous-y kind of incense that's, like I say, quite smooth, but just gives it that kind of resinous kind of base that pairs quite nicely with the woods. I actually think it's quite nicely balanced. I enjoyed wearing it. This is a fragrance that I like. I like the smell of it, but I didn't fall in love with it testing it. I'm not sure I would buy a bottle myself, but I definitely appreciate it, and I think it genuinely smells pretty good. I like the oud notes. It would be nice if it was a little bit more nuanced. It's quite a mellow, kind of easygoing oud, not particularly specific in the profile, but it does add to this kind of smooth, easygoing, a little bit more easier to wear kind of oud fragrances. I would say if you're kind of wanting to dip your toes into oud fragrances, but you're a little bit put off because they're a little bit scary or a bit too strong, this might be a good tipping point in. Like I say, the oud is not animalic, it's not hard hitting, it's mellow, it's soft, it's easier to wear, and yeah, it's a more wearable, pleasant, kind of soft woody oud. As it dries down, I do pick up on something almost a little bit like ambrette. It's kind of a muskiness, but it's kind of a soft, textured, fluffy kind of mustiness that's quite nice, and that comes out a little bit more as the tail end of the dry down. So there is kind of a musky, almost ambrette-like nuance to the fragrance as it dries down. Not too many changes though. The only real change is it opens up with that kind of watery sweetness that some people might think of as apple, but it doesn't strike me that way. But a watery kind of sweetness, that fades away as a top note, and then you get this kind of woody fragrance that's, you know, paired oud and tobacco with kind of a slight incensey, like resinous feeling underneath that through the whole mid of the fragrance. As it dries down, a little bit of this kind of almost ambrette-like muskiness coming up a little bit through those woods. In terms of performance, I found that I could smell it very easily around me, although the projection didn't seem that far, kind of half an arm's length. Sillage is soft, but it does leave a little bit of a trail behind you, and I feel like the performance in that regard was good for about 4 hours. I could easily, comfortably smell it softly around me for a good 4 hours, leaving a little bit of a trail. with the longevity kind of tailing out around 8 hours on my skin. Lasts a lot longer on clothing. It really clung to my t-shirt, but on skin tailing out around 8 hours. So the performance is pretty good. In terms of season, autumn and winter, and I actually think it's unisex. It doesn't strike me as massively masculine. I think the smoothness and the softness of the oud and the woods, and the tobacco not being overly aggressive and a little bit smoother, and this kind of a hint of a sweetness, it doesn't come across hugely masculine. The tobacco note is not too aggressive, it's not too loud, it's a smooth, kind of mellow, soft, pleasant kind of tobacco. The oud is quite evenly balanced with it, and the oud is very soft and mellow, like a soft pale wood. It's not too dark, it's not aggressive, it's not animalic, it's not any kind of hugely complex nuances. It's very smooth, easy to understand, gentle kind of oud paired with a smooth tobacco with this just slight resinous warm kind of incensiness underneath that, like I say, doesn't hit you in the face as being, oh, this is hugely masculine. A woman could definitely wear it. So unisex fragrance for the colder weather, autumn and winter. And I think it would work dressed up or dressed down. You could pull that off in a suit. You know, I'm picturing something like Royal Oud, which is something that I would also wear in a suit. This would work in a suit, and also, you know, if you're just wearing a leather jacket and a t-shirt, totally cool. So I don't think, you know, it doesn't specifically sit in any box for me. It's a little bit versatile. So yeah, I like it. If it was given to me as a gift, I would definitely happily wear it. If anything, I found myself getting a little bit bored of it after a few hours. And it's not so much the lack of change or progression. I do like linear fragrances. Most of my collection are actually linear fragrances. But I don't know, I got a little bit tired of the accord, I suppose, after, you know, 5 or 6 hours. I kind of had enough of it. But I like it. So yeah, it's a good fragrance. It's unisex, cold weather, easy to wear oud fragrance. If you're a little bit intimidated by oud, you might want to check that one out to dip your toes into that world. Very easy to understand, easy to like. I think it's not too scary. And that's about all I can say for the fragrance. If you tried it, let me know your thoughts on it, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.